Just came off the DNC debate, a little tired, a little sweaty, but that's okay. Just something I wanted to talk about really quick. PewDiePie. This isn't the first time I've talked about PewDiePie. It's not going to be the last either, but it's worth marking opinions. PewDiePie is a really, really, really big figure. 100 million people, That's a lot of people. Big old number of people. You're a little quiet? We can fix that. There we go. PewDiePie is a really fucking big figure, 100 million subscribers. He has more outreach than most news organizations, for fuck's sake. Like, he's big. And I also think that PewDiePie is a member of the alt-right. Some kind of reactionary, fascist, neo-Nazi, maybe. I don't know. I think he is. But it doesn't really matter whether or not he is. What matters is the effect he has in the world. Now, there are a couple of quick truisms I'd like to throw your way, okay? Something I want to hear them trues in chat. If you're a fan of what I have to say, I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say true or not false. Both work. They mean the same thing. For instance, if you're a public figure that has outreach that allows you to affect the opinions of millions, tens of millions of people, many of them children, you should probably be held to a pretty high standard when it comes to your conduct. I think that's fair. Now, hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those people who thinks that once you make it, you have to sand off all the edges and you can never say swears. A lot of people give Pewds shit for saying the N-word. I honestly don't care. I don't really care. I've heard he used to say it more often. I don't. This is, I think, a bad metric for determining the effect of one's political views. But there is nonetheless a concern. Is PewDiePie a Nazi? Or a member of the alt-right? Or a reactionary of some kind? Well, he certainly has a pretty Nazi-oriented fan base. All 100 million people, no, of course not. But he is pretty closely intertwined with 4chan and 8chan's pull. His fan base is, at least, in the sense that if you go online right now on Twitter and you make fun of PewDiePie, Nazis will come into your feed to make fun of you. Not all Nazis. Some of them will just be weird people with a strangely parasocial relationship with one of the largest public figures to ever exist. Some of them. But some of them will be Nazis. It's a little bit weird. I don't really care whether or not PewDiePie is himself a Nazi or whatever. I don't really care what people are. I don't care what people think. What I care about is the effect that they have on the world. So I'm not a Nazi, but I could conceivably make this a Nazi propaganda channel without me being a Nazi. I could make other people Nazis without me being a Nazi. It could all be for the trolls, you see, for the epic trolls. I have deceived you. I could do that. It's possible. I wouldn't, but I could. But if that was the case, if I was doing that, would it matter if I was a Nazi? I mean, is that really what people care about? Or do they care about you affecting the world in a Nazi-like way? Well, what has PewDiePie done? I mean, really, like, what has PewDiePie done? I mean, the anti-Semitism kind of comes up a lot. That death to Jews thing, that was one, but there have also been jokes. That's kind of weird. Working with Ben Shapiro when you're like a Let's Play gamer channel, that's kind of weird, considering that Ben Shapiro is himself, well, not a Nazi, he is a fascist. Endorsing ER. A lot of people have said, you think ER is a Nazi? ER? He does a gaming, or like he does like a nerd channel on YouTube, he's a Nazi. There were logs leaked of ER saying that he'll dog whistle. That means to subtly hint at a political message about the Jewish question. The idea that Jewish people are trying to destroy the white race by controlling media and politicians to bring in brown people. ER said he'll dog whistle about that. The Jewish people trying to destroy white people. And he'll joke and he'll joke and he'll joke until the joke really lands. Classic way of disseminating Nazi ideology, or really any extreme ideology. You turn it into a joke, you package it in a way that won't make people immediately revolt, but then the joke becomes normalized, and eventually, just as a matter of statistical inevitability, more and more people will stop seeing it as a joke. So there's that. He followed some alt-right figures on Twitter. I know he followed Stefan Molyneux, who is a Nazi, talks about the Jews and IQ differences between the races. Stefan Molyneux is a Nazi. I believe he also followed Lauren Southern, isn't that right? Lauren Southern was the one to popularize the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which is essentially the Jewish question. You just leave the Jews out. Someone is trying to destroy the white race by bringing in brown people, and someone is controlling our media to normalize the relationship between white and brown people. Who could it be? It's the Jews. It seems that he did follow Lauren Southern and Roaming Millennial, a full-on Nazi Roaming Millennial. So that's kind of weird. Again, we're talking about a YouTuber Let's Player whose content is mostly oriented around kids, children. Hold on. Still got a bit of a cough. So that's pretty weird. Following Nazis on Twitter, on your public, professional, business Twitter account, that's kind of weird. He stopped following them, though, after the Christchurch shooting, during which the shooter on a live stream to Facebook right before killing 50 innocent people said subscribe to Pewdiepie, a meme that Pewdiepie created to try and pump up his sub numbers to the rival T-Series channel. It's just some YouTube drama, but it wasn't just Pewdiepie fans, innocently disseminating this amongst themselves. Also kind of became a calling card for Nazis. Now I can tell you, I've met quite a few Nazis who have PewDiePie shit on their feed. I don't know if they're really PewDiePie fans or if supporting PewDiePie is just a way of them wink wink, nudge nudge, promoting their ideology. Again, I don't really think it matters. I don't think intention matters much there. What really matters is what they're doing. Subscribe to PewDiePie was also graffiti scrawled across a Holocaust memorial, if I recall correctly. It's also showed up in a manifesto, if I recall correctly. Took a little while for PewDiePie to denounce his association with the alt-right, and when he did so in about as lackluster and unimpressive a way as you could really imagine. I mean, the video's out there somewhere. I'm not going to fucking drag it out right now. It's him saying something like, we need to put an end to this meme, and this is not how PewDiePie sounds. We need to put an end to this meme, and also racism is bad. He didn't really substantively criticize, and he never said anything like, fuck the alt-right, I completely disassociate myself from these people. Though in his apology video, if I remember correctly, he did use the terms degenerate, popularized by Nazis, and disavow, which is something that Nazis will do to one another when they both want to be Nazis in public, but don't want to be associated with one another. Like, for example, if it's because I'm an anarchist. So if I, was walking around saying, I have problems with America, we deserve to die for our crimes. Now, I disavow Osama bin Laden, but, it's like you lead it like that. If you go look at Sean's video on the true nature of the Charlottesville rally, you'll see a number of alt-right figures praising and then ironically afterwards disavowing people like David Duke or Adolf Hitler. You know, it's so you do it, but then you performatively, you know what I mean? Someone in chat says, right there, you use those words, Vosh. It's true, I do use those words. I do say degenerate sometimes. You'll note, however, that I am not a 100 million subscriber YouTube demagogue who has a notorious reputation for associating with alt-right figures. So when I use it, it doesn't really indicate any subtle underlying Nazism. Usually, in fact, I'm calling Nazis degenerates. So, yeah. It's kind of in the same way that sometimes I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm doing all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But when the Christchurch shooter will flash the okay sign around his waist for a court photo after he got caught essentially doing a neo-Nazi mass shooting, well, it takes a little bit of a different context. Now, what am I getting from this? Well, for those of you who don't know, Pewdiepie recently, it was some sponsorship thing with Honey, I don't really know, but Pewdiepie recently pledged $50,000 to ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. It's a Jewish anti-hate group. Now, I'll be honest with you, I hate the ADL. I really, really do. The way they relentlessly shill for Israel, they're like Zionist conservatives. They'll conflate Israel and Jewish people. They'll promote the destruction of the Palestinian people. The ADL is a terrible organization. So I don't like the ADL. You know, I'm fine with not giving money to the ADL. And so, mind you, was PewDiePie's fan base. If you look at the video where PewDiePie said he was going to give the $50,000 away, child's money to him, by the way. He makes millions of dollars every month, but still. You'll see that there was was it his fan base? Was it a 4chan raid? Was it both? Who knows? A very, very, very large contingent of people who were spreading neo-Nazi propaganda, saying that the ADL, they would do the echoes sign around it. They would talk about how, good goy, PewDiePie finally kowtowing the knee to the chosen people. You know, it's the standard. And this was the whole comment section was just miles and miles of this, saying that PewDiePie was being blackmailed by the ADL, saying they were trying to get back at him because he was one of the chosen people who was speaking up against them. Here, I've got what a wonderful thing that I retweeted a little while ago, just a few hours ago, actually, I think. Yeah. So here's an article from the Daily Stormer. PewDiePie won't be giving nothing to criminal Jew ADL. Greenblatt got trolled. I don't know what Greenblatt is, I'll be honest with you. They're very happy, you see, because PewDiePie actually stopped. He withdrew his pledge to give the $50,000 to the ADL. Let's see what this wise representative of the Aryan race has to say. Pewd started that conversation on purpose. There was never any intention to give money to these kikes. PewDiePie will never cuck. PewDiePie will never betray the people. PewDiePie will destroy the kikes. PewDiePie is the holy savior of the internet. Check the cross on the collar, kikes. This is a clever reference to the fact that when PewDiePie said he was going to not give that money to the ADL, he was wearing a jacket with the iron fucking cross on its collar. And remember that face. It's the face you're going to be seeing on gigantic posters everywhere when you're getting stuffed in gas chambers. So, now there have been some people who are very, very eager to remind me, and others, that that's actually a jacket by a Georgian fashion designer, and that excuse me They've got me too. A Georgian fashion designer that it has nothing to do with the German Iron Cross. And if you believe that, then I've got a wonderful armband made by a Buddhist monk with a very innocent invocation of the swastika that I would love to sell you. So we've got a public figure, Pewdiepie, who has dog whistled for the alt-right, supported alt-right figures, promoted ER, a Nazi, followed the alt-right, Nazi figures on Twitter, who failed to disavow neo-Nazi shootings done into his name until it became inevitable, and he would have to say something about it, who allowed the subscribe to PewDiePie meme to remain an alt-right meme, in many cases, for a very long time, well past the point where it was getting media attention, mind you. This was not some underground thing brewing. This was an evident invocation of that meme. He had the video where the guy held up the sign saying death to all Jewish people. That was a good one. And then, after pledging to give $50,000 to the ADL, again, child's play, barely any money to him, he kowtowed, he either kowtowed or never planned on giving the money in the first place, to the demands of neo-Nazi conspiracy theorists. And then, when doing that, he wore a jacket with the Iron Cross on it, a military symbol of Germany, famously associated with the Nazi Party. They use it today in Germany, mind you, but it's a pretty specific symbol. So is PewDiePie a Nazi? I genuinely don't know, and I don't care. It's conceivable to me that somebody could do all of those things and just be an edgy loser. Admittedly, a multimillionaire edgy loser with more fame and reputability than I'll ever have in my entire life, or 100 lifetimes after that. But I don't care whether or not he's a Nazi. What I care about is the fact that he acts like one. He dog whistles for them. He gives them strength. He gives them reputability. He's a symbol to them, to many of them, a great many of them he is. I talk with a lot of Nazis, okay? I know. That's what bothers me. And make a better video without the fucking coughing, am I right? That's what bothers me. I don't care. I don't know what's in his head. But when the single biggest public figure on YouTube, the single biggest one, consistently dog whistles, consistently does things that fall, at least in the realm of possibility of Nazism, who consistently abets, supports, aids, bolsters the spirits of the alt-right. Felix may not be a Nazi himself, but from within the framework of his public persona, he is doing everything one could conceivably do to dog whistle for Nazism, to go crypto. Everything you could really do. What more could he do? Like, how blatant does this have to get? Like, can you fucking imagine promoting Nazis, following Nazis online, not calling out Nazis in your community, not calling out your own little sub to PewDiePie meme being used as a rallying cry for neo-Nazis? Offering money to the ADL, then taking it away with Nazis complain, and then saying you're going to be taking it away while wearing a jacket that, you know, I suppose that PewDiePie could have just, for some reason, decided to wear some weird, exotic Georgian fashion designer's jacket when he's never mentioned Georgia before, and never, like, no, just completely, yes, you see, I found this jacket. It just had the Iron Cross on it while I'm saying I'm not going to give money to the ADL after Nazis told me not to. I don't know. It doesn't matter whether or not he's Nazi, but he should be treated as one. A lot of people think like, oh, You're calling this person a Nazi? Do you know how few of those there are? Do you know what the... No, God, no. No, guys. There have been Nazis in America. I know he's not in America. This is a problem everywhere. There have been Nazis all over the place. Like for a long, long time. Hyper-nationalistic racists who, feel like the Jews are trying to destroy the white race. This is by no means like a niche political position. It's unfortunately fairly representative of the views of quite a few people, or at least very closely related to the views of a great many people. So a lot of people freak out and you say, so-and-so is a reactionary, so-and-so is a racist, so-and-so is a Nazi. Okay. Whether or not he is one, though, he is serving the purpose of one. And we have to wonder, we genuinely have to wonder, what do you do when the single largest YouTuber, a person who has the ears of millions of children, is functionally indistinguishable from a neo-Nazi? I don't know.